Welcome to episode 134 of Closer Mentality. I'm your host, Julia Mellett. Soccer is the world's most played sport, with an estimated 3.5 to 4 billion global fans and more than 265 million players. Today's guest, Gianna Merigliano, allowed sport to take her across oceans and back to the land of her ancestors. Merigliano, the oldest of 4 children, found youth soccer after dance, gymnastics, and golf fell flat for an energetic elementary schooler.
I think I started playing a bit later. I wasn't actually onto a recreational team until 5th grade, I think, of elementary school. And I know at least a lot of my former teammates and friends that they had started playing when they were very, very, very young. So that's why I kind of say that I started late. And I played recreational for 2 years, and then I started getting into club. So I was in like 6th grade by the time I started club soccer, and then just kind of hopped around from club to club after that.
Almost as soon as she laced up her boots, Merigliano was hearing whispers of college coaches and recruiting ID camps, of club teams and travel games. She cross-trained with track and cross-country to build up her endurance, but the priority was always soccer.
Soccer was always my number one. I was on the high school team, and then I would go from high school trainings to my club trainings. And yeah, I think that's what really had me dialed in, was trying to get recruited to a college at that time. I grew up going to a bunch of different ID camps for different colleges. We would do tournament showcases at different colleges. And I think it was a Disney tournament that I was a part of and playing in. And it was one of my teammates' dad's friend that was watching the game to support his friend's daughter. And turns out that the friend was former classmates with the head coach at Rollins College. So he called up Alicia, the coach at Rollins College, and was like, I'm watching this girl, like, you need to have her come do a tryout with the team, et cetera, et cetera. So he kind of like connected us. And so Alicia had invited me over to Rollins College to do a training with the team, get to know them. I think I was a junior in high school. And so that's what we did. And through that, she gave me the offer and I accepted it, I think, in the 2 weeks.
Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida, allowed Merigliano a short trek from home in Jupiter. At Rollins, Merigliano pursued a degree in psychology with a minor in public health. Her own experiences with sports psychology resources and COVID-19's inherent loneliness widened her eyes to the opportunities to meld sport and health.
Once COVID hit, it was hard. I think I had just recently finished my junior season and we had a great season. We made it into the NCAAs. Didn't make it as far as we wanted to, but that team was one of my favorite teams that I had in my college experience. So to come kind of go from this high of having such a successful year to then, oh no, COVID hit, like we don't know what's going to happen. Now we have to wear masks at trainings. Now we can't do physical contact at trainings. We're all in like separate boxes and passing the ball. And so then to it to lead into our season was canceled and it was my senior season. So it really took a toll of like what is going on. I was like, I don't want to end my college season like this. I worked so hard and like I'm coming off of a good season. I want to play for my team my last year. So it was just a lot of questions just kind of spiraling through your mind of like, who knows what's going to happen. And the season was canceled, and then they kind of gave us a spring season of, okay, you guys can play again. And then I decided to take my 5th year because I was like, I can't leave on a question mark. I have to finish what I came here to do. So I took my 5th year, and I had a really big mess going into that as well. I had 2 ankle sprains back to back to like 6 to 5 weeks out of preseason. I had to miss the trainings of preseason, but I was still showing up for my team, to then taping my ankle so tight that I made sure that I was there for the season opener. I missed the preseason trainings, like I wasn't able to participate, but I was there for the first game and I was there until the very end. So it was really all or nothing for me that year. Mentally, before I was a mess, for sure. I definitely was going through anxiety. Um, I was also on the medication of Accutane. So that in itself is already messing with your mental mindset. So, and to also go through that while COVID was also happening and it still wasn't finalized that we would have an official season my fifth year. It was it was a very messy roller coaster. And again, I think that's what had driven me to perform under any circumstances my last season. But once we were able to get the all clear that we have a season, get the all clear that like, okay, preseason is happening, whether I was injured or not, I was just happy that we were back and playing. I knew I would return. Um, so my mindset going into the season was like, it's all or nothing after that.
Merigliano's fifth year after COVID was rough. She stepped up into a leadership position for the Tars out of necessity.
It wasn't our most successful season. We had a very new team where it was just me and one other fifth year. Um, I think we had maybe one or two seniors. So we had a very young team. And because prior to this season, it was the COVID year that was taken away, we lacked experience. Um, but I think with myself and my other teammate, China, who was the other fifth year, and how much we wanted it, I think we made them want it as well. But just with the lack of experience, as I was saying, when it comes to the conference and the playoffs, and you're also young. So you're like, oh, like I have 3 more years, I have 4 more years. Like, no, like it's so limited the amount of time that you have to compete with this team. But I do remember being in the locker room and some of my teammates, because I think the national championship was supposed to be on my birthday or something. And I just remember one of my teammates being like, we want to be in the championship for Gianna's birthday. Like, come on, let's get our shit together. And I'm just like, okay, well, they want it. But it's just my big thing is you if you're saying it, you got to do it on the field. Unfortunately, results didn't play out in our favor. We lost in penalty kicks during a conference playoff game, and we didn't get the pass into the NCAAs.
Merigliano was confronted with the potential of a life without soccer, and she wasn't ready to hang up the cleats yet. But suddenly, instead of leading the team and everyone looking to her, she had regressed to selling her skills in a different capacity. Now, instead of college scouts, she was reaching out to international teams.
It was really trial and error, like learning the process of college recruitment, handing out your flyers. My dad would print out player profiles. We didn't know how to do it. We just observed, he observed other parents of other teams kind of doing that at the college showcase tournaments. And my dad learned how to do it and was doing it for the players on my team as well. So it was really just trial and error. And so the same thing happened again once college was over and we had to try to figure out how I could go abroad. It was always my biggest dream to go play overseas in Italy. And luckily, from one of the club teams that I had played with, we had a connection of one of the team directors, team coaches, had a relationship with the program called Rome City Institute, which is located over in Rome, Italy. And with that, we were able to just kind of work something out. I wanted to get over there as quickly as possible. So that required me to go for a master's degree. So to get my student visa and stuff, that was the quickest way for me to kind of get over there. And then through the program itself, they kind of set you up with different trials, different teams, and then you could get picked up or you don't.
Rome City Institute partners with accredited United States institutions to offer transferable credits toward bachelor's and master's degrees, as well as gap year programming. In Merigliano's case, Rome City Institute offered an MBA and a master's degree in sport management and coaching.
Rome City Institute, I would say, is primarily American students. They do recruit a lot of other Europeans. There's been Brazilians, there's been ones from Canada. It's all over the place, but I would say dominantly their outreach for students comes from America because it almost gives the experience to play abroad. So they kind of use that as their way. And it's a great way because, you do get the experience of playing college ball, but abroad. It's just a different format. It's a different season, and you're really taking the chance of being recruited or not by these club teams. So it kind of adds this sense of drive and motivation and discipline to make the most of what you have.
Athletes can attend class while playing American football, basketball, beach volleyball, field hockey, golf, lacrosse, rowing, rugby, soccer, volleyball, swimming, tennis, or track. The prestige of Rome City's soccer connections set Merigliano up perfectly to learn Italian and fully immerse herself in the culture of European professional soccer.
I'll always say that at least the biggest difference between the US and playing in Europe in general, I think, is the US puts a lot of emphasis on athleticism, whereas over in Europe, from my own perspective, my own experience, I find it to be more technical based. Because in the US, you see us doing a lot of fitness tests, a lot of time in the gym, just a lot of time just working on that athleticism part of you that's going to help benefit you on the field, whether it's with speed, strength, power, etc. With Italy, it was different. It was a lot more field time and a lot less gym time. My team, at least, we didn't really do any gym sessions. We would spend um one of our trainings doing shootings, and as you're in the line for shooting, you're doing some sort of exercise. So you're not exactly focused on the power of things, the speed of things. It's just more so to maintain that muscle.
Living on location, Merigliano says, helped better immerse her in the Italian culture, while also allowing a full-time focus on her sport.
We had kind of like an academy training in the morning. So we would spend the mornings doing trainings with the program itself. And then you would go off and do your master's classes, your bachelor's classes, gap year classes. There's different programs for different students. And then after that, you would go off to your club teams at night. So although I was not necessarily in the gym for those performance reasons anymore, I mean, even in college, once you're in season, you probably have one gym session a week because it's a lot of games back to back. So it was different, but I could say that at least I prepared very well in the summer leading into me going into Rome. But with academy trainings and stuff, I think it definitely helped me not fall behind. If anything, it was pushing me forward because I was having 2 trainings a day.
When Merigliano joined Rome City Institute, there were fewer than 30 girls in her program. Now, Rome City has built its own team aimed at increasingly competitive Italian league play.
But while I was there, that wasn't a thing. We didn't have that safety net of, okay, if you don't get recruited by the Italian club teams, then you can at least compete with our team in the Italian league. So it was 25, 26 of us competing for recognition from the Italian clubs, and the coaches could come to the friendlies that we had scheduled, or the program itself would send you off to a trial to go practice with the team, and then over time they can tell you if they want you or not. So luckily I had a trial with one team. I didn't necessarily like it, so I went to the next team, and with that next team I was happy and I ended up signing with them. But it gets competitive because there's a lot of different rules in play when it comes to being recruited, and a lot of the Italian teams can only take 2 internationals.
She'd finally made it into roster contention, but Merigliano was struggling to get the starting nod from the Italian coaches. In fact, it became such a culture shock that her belief in her ability wavered for the first time.
It's going to take a lot of discipline because a lot of teams, a lot of coaches aren't going to say yes to you right away. It's going to be a big learning experience, and I definitely had gone through learning experiences of my own. So I would say it takes a lot of effort You really gotta showcase yourself and your strengths. I wouldn't try to do anything new because it's new. It's not a strength of yours anymore. So you just got to do what you know to the best of your abilities. And if they like you, they like you. When it comes to the things outside of soccer, then in the trials that you're having with the teams, then you have to show that like you are a player that the team can work with. You're coachable and you're able to create a friendly environment, a competitive environment where the teammates can look up to you and you can look up to them. I do want to give credit where credit is due. My coaches had helped me a lot. The One of the academy coaches, his name was Richard. I had probably cried in front of him several times. So just about like what I wanted in soccer, I felt like I wasn't getting what I needed out of it. I gave him a hard time about like the trainings, like I need to be pushed harder, like I can't, just kind of doing those things and just I was able to be vulnerable with my coach about moments like that. And I think that's a great thing to have if your program does lack that sports psychologist position, that at least I had a great relationship with the coaches and the staff where I was able to seek advice from them. My second year at Rome City, I was an employee. I was working for them as a recruiter and as a coach, and they did open up a position where it was a sports performance counselor, something of the sorts. I'm not exactly sure of the title, but they did open that field up a little bit about it.
Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless of if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human in this world going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a positive way. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. This is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options just in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. If this sounds like something that could help you, there's a link in the show notes to get you started on your therapy journey. It's betterhelp.com/closer mentality. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. Because finding a therapist is a little like dating. If you don't really fit with the therapist matched with you, it's easy and free to switch therapists without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/closer mentality. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/closer mentality. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this channel. Did you know that you can purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore? With Libro FM, you can pick from more than 325,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from real booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company out there, you know the name. But you'll be part of a different story, one that supports your local community. If you're new to audiobooks, they're the perfect way to squeeze more reading into your busy life. Listen with the free Libro FM app while you do chores, walk the dog, or relax at home. If you already love audiobooks and don't know what to listen to next, check out recommendations from the people who know best, booksellers. Closer Mentality has partnered with Libro FM on a special offer. Through the link in the show notes, you can get 2 audiobooks on Libro FM for the price of 1. Offer only valid for new members in Canada and the US. Thanks to Libro FM for sponsoring this podcast. The lack of mental health counseling throughout the European clubs wasn't missed on Merigliano. Though she had coaches step up into those emotional comfort roles, true sports psychology resources were scarce.
Once you're in Europe, I don't think they realize how important it is. I think over in the US, they've really caught on to the importance of it and the stigma and the negative feedback about mental health and athletes. I think that's all starting to finally be pushed. Like, no, this is a serious thing. Our athletes need help, different on a different level, So I think Europe, and I can't speak of all of Europe. I can just speak of my own experience of I think they're a little bit behind when it comes to that mindset or when it comes to like the importance of it. So that could be another reason too, but um hopefully like more teams and more programs that are similar can recognize that as well. It could be really difficult, and sometimes as an athlete, you really have to put yourself out there in order to receive that help. And it's unfortunate that it has to come down to that sometimes, but again, like you gotta look out for yourself. No one's gonna look out for yourself like you do. So sometimes you do need to ask your friends for help, ask your families for help, ask your coaches for help. And that's what I did. Luckily, I had a great relationship with the coaches and the staff, as I had said previously, and I had created a lot of good friendships that, they were going through similar experiences as I was. So if there was anything that, was depleting my mental health, my energy, all of those things, I felt comfortable to talk to them about those things as well.
Playing soccer abroad and fully driving the ship of her success created a level of self-efficacy that Merigliano hadn't experienced before. She was in control, and thus had to be her best advocate. When, in July 2024, Merigliano found herself on a plane to Israel to play for Maccabi Hadera WFC, she thought that her career was taking off. She was living the dream and funding it with the dream. Life seemed so good.
I would say the league itself in Israel was way more competitive. It was the Premier League for Israel, whereas in Italy it was Serie C. Italy, up until recently, I would say maybe 2 years ago, they had just announced their soccer leagues as professional. So they are pretty behind when it comes to the women's soccer part of professional soccer. In Israel, it was for the Premier League, like I said, and it's very competitive because the winner, the first place team in the league, they get to go compete for Champions League qualifiers. So it adds this whole new motivation of wanting to perform and wanting to win because everyone wants to play in Champions League. It's an incredible experience to have. And so in order to do that, you really have to be focused and play hard. So there was a lot of added pressure, I would say, with that. And especially when you do have such a talented team and you know that that goal is very reachable, things get intense. But for that, because it was really that first time of a real professional team and a professional league, and you're competing for the Champions League, it's very different.
When she got boots on the ground in the coastal city of Hadera, Israel, north of Tel Aviv, Merigliano was immediately confronted with societal inequality.
It's definitely not equal, and that's not just in Israel. It's in a lot of places, still even the US and Europe, like how Italy, for example, like they didn't push for a professional league up until very recently. Um, from my experience in Israel, it's different in a sense of like we're a first professional league team and we don't get to play in the stadiums like the men do. Mind you, we also don't fill the stadiums like the men's do. So there's an inequality of the playing experience, but also the showcasing of the sport. So if maybe it was showcased a little bit more, we would get more fans. But that's with any location still. Women's soccer is still behind when it comes to men's soccer, and it's good to see that there are some countries and different places that are putting more of a push. But it's unfortunate that some places will still be behind with that.
Merigliano found herself in Israel during the Palestinian bombings, and the ramifications of international unease showed up at her doorstep.
I think just from the differences in location of Italy to Israel itself may had made my family and my friends a little bit more anxious while I was over in Israel, just because of all of the political things that have been going on the last couple of years, where they're like, "Oh, why would you go?" Knowing that like all of this is going on. I'm just like, I love soccer. It's an opportunity in a first league where you could potentially play in the Champions League, and I need to, make this sacrifice and see where it can take me. when it comes to the mental side of things, I just think obviously it was really hard to have those living experiences of the stuff that was going on there, but and my family had a hard time, but they were still my rock and I was still able to call them and let them know that I was okay. And yeah, it just comes down to staying in check with them because there's going to be a lot of things circulating on the news. So just making sure that your family knows what's going on.
The strife of playing and living in Israel took an emotional toll on Merigliano, enough such that slightly more than a year later, she requested an out. That's not, though, where the story ends.
There was no talks of what's going to happen after. I had a meeting with the owner about like I didn't want to return, and it ended up working out because they wanted to recruit um my position for a different spot because I'm an outside back, wing back, and we had so many players on the team that could play that already that were Israeli. So they wanted to use my international spot for a different position, whether it was another center back or central midfielder. So we had that discussion. It was on the same wavelength of like, I'm not going to return. They're going to use my spot for something else. Um, I wasn't able to play in the playoffs because I had run into different issues with my visa and I was sent home. I had gone to Italy. I had returned to Italy to get my things from storage. My best friend who lives there, Gigi, I was able to get my things from her house that I was keeping there. And then once I had gone back to Israel to return, because there was a big gap between regular season and the playoffs, I'd returned to Israel. They had said that my visa like wasn't there. I had been living there illegally for X amount of time. Yeah. And because of that, they're just like, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, I'm a soccer player. Like, what do you mean? I play professional soccer. And it just turns out that I wasn't on a work visa. It actually never came through. And that I got into the country from a letter that said I would get that visa in like my first 90 days. So I was in the airport for 12 hours. They escorted me everywhere. Yeah, and I was sent home with like a small little duffel bag back to the US. Luckily, I had great roommates in Israel where it was like, you guys need to pack my things. Like I'm not coming back. Like I hate that I don't get to say bye to you guys. And yeah, yeah. That's how my season ended. My advice now to players is to like, if you are going to a foreign country where they speak a different language, make sure you translate everything. Because had I translated the letter, maybe I would have seen that it was like, okay, can only get your visa in the 90 days that you're here, but that's also the team's responsibility to be doing that as well. It's not mine. Um, but again, like this is from my experience, I can now tell players like make sure you translate and make sure that your agent translates it or make sure that your agent like is on top of these things as well. At the end of the day, it's the team's job to protect you if they're signing you as an international player. So yeah, I don't know all the logistics behind it. I just know what the lady had told me when I was in the deportation office and how she had asked me like that. I'm just like, I'm a soccer player. I play here. I get paid. And like, oh, so you work here? I'm like, well, yeah, technically, like I receive a salary. I play in the Premier League. And it was just a whole mess. I really had so much love for my teammates, and that was the thing that broke my heart was like I didn't get to say goodbye to them. Um, and I'm not gonna go back to visit them. So it's just kind of like this long distance friendship at a point where I'm not going to see them. So, and knowing that while it was all happening, it just made me upset. Of course, I spent almost a whole year with these girls. And yeah, I would just say that was the hardest part. Obviously, being in the airport for so long, it was definitely mentally draining. But I talk to my family and we think that, everything happens for a reason. And although that reason may not appear instantly, you know, things do end up working out and I've been able to experience a lot of great things this last year that maybe I would not have experienced if that had not happened. At least now I can be an advocate for make sure you read your contracts, make sure you read all of the things that are given to you because this doesn't just happen to me. It's happened to so many other players that, play internationally because teams, unfortunately, being players, you're looked at as not people. You're looked at as if you're meat being sold in the meat market. Like, oh, I need a player that looks like this, weighs this much, and, has a left foot. I need this player that looks like this, like this, like this. Like, you're not looked at as human beings anymore. You're looked at as a product. How are you going to help? It's a business, it's an organization at the end of the day. So that's why I'm always saying you got to really be there for yourself in moments for these things.
Hours spent in the deportation office, difficult Israeli coaching practices, and professional retirement looming caught up with Merigliano. She'd done everything she could on the field, and aspects beyond her control forced her back across the Atlantic.
I was going through a really big mental battle of my spark being taken away. And that just comes from the coaching style that was, selected at the moment. And it was just, you're trying your best. I was coming back from an injury. I had a really bad ankle sprain in January. So I was already dealing with the repercussions of that, and then trying to get back into training and get my confidence back, and like not receiving a very supportive outlet from my coach, I guess. It drained me, and I was injured, and I was treated like I was just someone that no longer existed. I can promise you, and I mean this, he did not speak to me for a month. Like, no greeting, nothing. Not like, oh, how's your recovery going? Oh, I could see that you're doing well in trainings again. I did not exist for that month. So it was a big obstacle for me to kind of try to conquer on my own. So my spark was gone. My fitness was not at its best because I was coming back. So I was doing everything I can to kind of get back into where I was. And yeah, I don't know if playing professional was completely off the table. I still had that motivation of like, I still want to play, but how can I enjoy the sport again? And it did take some time for it to come back. I came back to Florida, played in the USLW League over the summer with Fort Lauderdale. And, I think just being able to meet some other players and just be back home in my home country with my family, who I hadn't seen in almost a year, that just being in a familiar environment again helped me. And then just being in another soccer environment where I was like, okay, like I don't necessarily have that much pressure here. So let me just get back into shape and let me just get back into playing. And if I fall in love with the sport again, that would be amazing. If not, then like I'll figure it out. So that was my mindset. I didn't really know what was going to come. It was also the European window was open, and I was having issues with my agent at that time too. I don't think the communication was there. I don't think they had my best interests at mind. So it was just so much going on in that time frame.
Are you an athlete rehabbing from an injury? Are you a coach or athletic trainer seeking additional support for your injured athlete toolkits? KT Tape has exactly what you need. KT Tape is a rehabilitation tape that helps stabilize and compress sensitive areas of the body during exercise. Apply KT Tape to an area either in pain or in recovery and feel the difference. KT Tape is comfortable, stable, and long-wearing. There's tape for all modes of action, from gentle, which is safe for easy activity and everyday use, to pro extreme, for athletes in moderate to high-impact exercise. KT Tape makes water-resistant tape as well for a more adaptable rehabilitation implementation. KT Tape caters to lifelong athletes and focuses on reducing muscle soreness for all users when worn during exercise and up to 48 hours post. Are you an athlete in need of prescription sports goggles or sunglasses? Today's final sponsor may have just the solution for you. A site for sport eyes was created when founder Shannon Knight saw a niche that was perpetually going unfulfilled. A site for sport eyes grew out of a need for education surrounding the impact of sport-related eye injuries and their lasting repercussions. A site for sport eyes runs like a regular optical practice, not an e-commerce store. Their goal is to give you the same high-quality service and name-brand lenses made by the best optical laboratories in the country, geared specifically for athletes and athletic use cases. If you need new lenses or frames, a site for sport eyes is the perfect place to get them. The links to BetterHelp.com, Libro.fm, KT Tape, and a site for sport eyes are all in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode. During the free agency period, Merigliano found OnRise, an athlete mental health company aimed at supplying peer support for struggling athletes. Through the programming, she became a mental health peer support counselor.
Over the last couple months, I had been working towards being a mental health peer support counselor. And I have different friends that kind of had helped me get this position because I know that sports psychology was something that I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to do it. There's so many different directions that you can take. I know I didn't want to go back to school for another master's. So if I had to do certifications or something like that to kind of help me get to where I wanted to be, I was going to do that. So my friend had helped me get in contact with the organization called OnRise. And with that, I was able to speak with Derek, who is in charge of the entire organization. And through that phone interview, he enjoyed who I was. I enjoyed his purpose of what OnRise was to help athletes in their mental health journeys. And so with that, it was, I would say, about 2 months to do the courses, to do the test, and then just to be certified in that position. And it just, you just learn a lot about mental health first aid, which is what we got certified in, and how to communicate to athletes, how to help them navigate through these things. We, in our positions, we cannot diagnose them. We are simply there to be peer supporters and help them through the mental health journey that they're experiencing. We listen to them, we're there for them, and it kind of gives them the reassurance of like, we're not your teammate, we're not your coach, we're not going to have any sort of like opinions that is going to negatively affect you as a player and your playtime and all of these things. We're just simply there to be that unbiased listener and support you and, just kind of mentor you through these things. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into the position that where I am now. And I've been actively being a peer support counselor since December now. So it's still pretty new, but I've been enjoying it. With OnRise and how we run, athletes can schedule appointments with you, and it's 45-minute sessions, I think, and it's just kind of opening the floor up to them. But because I would say it's more of a part-time thing, just depends on how many athletes you have that, I just go on about my day. Like I'll do my morning routine. If someone wants to have a meeting with me in the afternoon, we'll do that for the hour. And then, I have a night job, so I go to my night job after. There's no really specific daily routine or daily thing when it comes to the job. Once I see that someone booked an appointment with me, I'm just happy to help them navigate their own journey and help them kind of get out of a rut if that's what they're feeling, or if they need just insight or just someone to speak to. Simply, I'm happy to be here for that support because I've gone through my own experiences. So it just makes me happy that I'm able to help others figure out the things that they're going through, because I wasn't necessarily in that position as an athlete. I didn't have those resources.
During this time, Merigliano was content to sit on the sidelines and help athletes with their mental struggles. But she was also actively looking for additional roster opportunities. Merigliano reached out to a former teammate who was representing Team Puerto Rico to inquire about international clearance requirements for a tryout.
So I reached out to her and I was just like, hey, like, I don't know exactly how to do this because I know at least for like an Italian citizenship, you have to prove that you're Italian through all this paperwork and but Puerto Rico is a US territory, so it's just like I don't know what to do. So I just reached out to her. I was like, "Hey, if you can help me, like I would appreciate it. My grandpa is from Puerto Rico. He's lived there his whole life. How do I, get a citizenship? How do I prove that I'm Puerto Rican?" And I was like, I can send you my player profile, my highlight video. If maybe you could just pass it down to the coach or someone that could like help me, that would be awesome. And so she had sent it to them, and it's just kind of like a waiting game. You don't know if you're going to hear back. You don't know if they're going to like you, if they're not going to like you. So then I ran into her in December at another Miami soccer event, and we were just speaking. She's like, I know I haven't heard anything. I was like, no, it's okay. Like, this was kind of a period where I didn't make the summer window. I didn't have an agent that helped me in the summer window get recruited. And then it was just like I was receiving offers, but they weren't real offers. I'm 27 years old now. Like, I need something that's going to help me financially be stable. So I was picky, but I was also not receiving anything that I felt like was worth it to go back abroad. So I was just in this period at this point of like, I don't know if I'm gonna play professionally anymore. I'm just gonna like I'm gonna enjoy the sport. I'm gonna really lock into my sports psychology career and like just work and make money and just enjoy my time. So I ran into her and she was just like, "Oh, we haven't heard anything. I don't know." I'm like, "That's okay. Like, I'm not worried." I was like, "Thank you for your help anyways." Yada yada yada. And then so me and my boyfriend, we go to Puerto Rico in January just for a vacation. They have a festival called Sanse. It's just big cultural music, food, events, and it's just for a couple days. And we just went for the fun of it. And while I was there, my friend texted me. She's like, "Hey, the coach, he might contact you in the next couple days." And I remember showing my boyfriend the phone, and we were just like, "What?" Like, this is weird. So whatever. I was like, okay, great. And so 2 days when we get back to Florida from Puerto Rico, the coach messaged me setting up a call, and um I was on the phone with him and he was just getting to know a little bit more about me. He saw my video. He knew I was a free agent at this moment, but he knows that I'm playing like all the time. I'm training. And yeah, he was just like, "Well, we would like to invite you up for like our upcoming camp. Just make sure that like you're in shape, and we'd love to have you and see how it goes." And I was just like, "What? What is this world? How does this happen?" So yeah, that's the story. And I just came back from the Puerto Rican camp almost a week ago. With the Puerto Rican camp, it's very short. It's not like we're playing in a league that's multiple months out of the year. It was about a 12-day camp, and I was one of the only new people that like haven't been in the Puerto Rican national team system before. Like, this was like my first real time, and I was the only player that was in those shoes during this camp. And everyone was super nice. It's always a bit intimidating to be the new player and, also being older. Like, I'm 27, I'm one of the older players, I would say. And yeah, I mean, it was just a different experience. Everyone was friendly and they made me feel very welcome. So I'm very grateful for that. And I just remember we were there, and the first day we had a training, but it wasn't a full-on training. It was more of like a walkthrough because we had a game right after that. So I had 24 hours to get to know the girls before the first game. I didn't get minutes, which that is totally fine. I just met everybody 24 hours ago, and I was just happy to be there. I wanted to prove myself as a player. I wanted people to respect me as a player, and I knew that comes with just showing what I could do on the field. So we kind of had a walkthrough training, and then we had the game, and then we had an off day. And I just remember I'm just like, oh, I'm just itching to play. I just want to train. I want to show them what I'm capable of. And I'm bonding with all of the girls. I'm talking with them, but it's just like, you know, it's different. Everyone knows each other. So naturally there's going to be little groups of like, oh my God, like, they don't get to see each other year round. So this is also them catching up in different ways. I never ever took it in a negative way. I understood it completely for what it is. But I just knew it was like, I need to train because at training, like we are all one. It's one group. Everyone, you get to know someone more as a soccer player when you get to play with them. So I was just itching to just finally play. And we had like 4 days of actual real trainings before we had our second game. And with that, I felt with the first training like that, I felt like I was fitting in really well. I was making friends with all of the girls and I had a great time. I'm grateful for this experience with Puerto Rico. I think it was kind of just a sign of like, don't give up, you don't really know what's going to happen. And this is why I say that, things happen for a reason, even though if it's not something that happens immediately, like things will happen and things will work in your favor if you maintain that positive outlook on what you're doing, as long as you're putting the efforts into the right things. Um, But yeah, I'm just hoping that from this experience that I can maybe send some teams some emails, and if I can, be a practice player and kind of earn my spot onto a roster, that would be ideal too. I don't think I'm necessarily looking to go abroad again. Um, so I would say that like my goal is to really try my shot in the USL Super League here in Florida.
You can follow along with Gianna's soccer journey on Instagram at Gianna Merigliano. And you can watch she and I's full interview on the Closer Mentality Uncensored YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in to episode 134 of Closer Mentality. As always, I'm your host, Julia Mellett. See you next week.